Arjanice is a skydiver and a videographer and a lot of other No, it's like you're a skydiver and a videographer combined, and you travel around and skydive and shoot video for that. And I think that's such a interesting career choice. And like, how did you get started? What kind of brought this on?
Yeah, so basically I started doing the video part first. I started making videos kind of like for a hobby around... It's kind of hard to tell. I used to do, this is funny, I used to do parkour back in the day, you know, free running and stuff, like running around, doing flips and all that. And because of that, I started making videos of me and my friends just doing stunts or whatever. And then I started getting into videography because of that. And then I started like researching a little bit more, kind of like liking it. And like it was pretty organic, pretty natural. People start asking me kind of like for weddings and stuff like this, you know, like a friend like, hey, we know you make videos, would you be able to make like the video for a wedding and stuff, like friends? So I was like, oh, okay, cool. Like I didn't kind of like went for it basically for the video part. It kind of happened naturally, I guess. And so then after the wedding videos and all this, I always wanted to skydive. Like I always had that desire since, I mean, I wouldn't say always, but since I was a kid, I wanted to. And it was pretty expensive to do it in Venezuela as a hobby, as a sport. Yeah. Like I was able to do like a tandem jump, but that's not what I wanted to. I wanted to actually, you know, like skydive, you know, by myself and stuff. So when I moved here to the US, that was the first thing I did, basically. I started skydiving because I started working, I started making some money.
When did you move to the US?
2016.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So super recently, honestly.
Yeah, it's pretty recent. Yeah, so I actually started skydiving in 2017.
Oh, wow. So you moved here and immediately you were like, this is what I'm doing.
Yeah, right away. Wow. I was like, okay, I can afford it now, so I'm going to start skydiving. And because of my video background on like doing weddings and doing like small gigs here and there, you know, like highlights events and behind the scenes and all this, because of all that, I had a little bit more of experience than the regular skydiver that, you know, like most people don't know the technical stuff about video, you know, about like making content. And I had a little bit of that background, so that helped me to start creating like really cool content around skydiving.
Wow, that's awesome. So how many weddings would you say that you had shot before you sort of, you know, started doing other things?
I would say, that's a good question. Probably at least like 10 to 15 weddings.
Wow. So you would you were pretty much like a wedding videographer guy.
Yeah, for how can I say that? For like a short period of my videography, you know, like background or whatever.
Was that all events? Like we met because we needed B-roll shot for social, but like, did you do events like that before?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I used to do events before. So it happened. So this is how I actually started making it more in a professional level, because I didn't actually study for videography or anything like this. I actually studied to be a computer engineer, and I have a degree in computer engineering.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, which I kind of didn't use it as much. Yeah. But anyways, I studied that in Venezuela. I got out of college with my computer engineering degree or whatever, and then side story or whatever, I won a green card on a lottery.
Did you?
Yeah.
You won a green card on a lottery?
Most people don't know that there is a lottery each year for green cards.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, to give it away.
Is this just in Venezuela or like
everywhere? Everybody. Well, everybody, but some countries.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's actually a program that the U.S. has, and it's called the Diversity Cultural Program or something like this. Yeah, and they do it to make sure there is like a diverse culture in the U.S. So they give away 50,000 green cards all over the world.
Oh my God, I didn't know
that. But they don't include countries that they already know that there is already too many people from that country. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So like for instance, Mexico, they cannot participate.
Yeah.
Because we have the data, the US have the data that say, hey, we already have a lot of you guys.
Yeah.
So let's give the opportunity to, it sounds kind of hard, right? It sounds kind of like, guys, too many. Stop it. No, but just kidding. But in the sense that they want to actually make it a little bit of everything.
Yes.
Instead of having like a lot of, you know, like just these people or those people.
One race. That's
so yeah, if they have like so Venezuela was always like part of it, and they stopped the visa for Venezuela 2 years ago.
Oh,
like I think it was like a year after I won.
Get out.
Yeah.
If you didn't win
crazy.
the lottery that way, would you have been able to come to America still, or would it be like
I
a
don't
super
think
crazy
so.
long
I mean,
process?
maybe, but so a lot of friends. There's multiple ways to come to the US, right? You can get married, you can study, and so on. So a lot of people from Venezuela, they opt for doing how can you call that? What's the word in English? It's political asylum. How do you say?
Oh yeah,
asylum?
yeah.
So it's way easier and faster. You might not get it because you need a case. You need to prove that you're being you're in danger, or you're being persecuted, or by the government, or like by somebody in the country. So a bunch of friends have done that, and a lot of people from Venezuela, they flew here, and they're like, hey, they're killing us, kind of thing. So that could have been a possibility if I, if that would have happened. But I mean, winning the lottery was like way easier.
And you applied, or it just kind of came out of nowhere, or what?
So I applied. So this is the thing: you apply online, and it's free, which is kind of crazy. It's like an online form, name, last name, address, whatever.
Yeah.
Your mom and dad, like super basic information. And then after that, you just wait for the results like 3 months after. And I didn't know about the lottery at all. It was my sister, the one that told me. She was like, hey, green card lottery, this and that. And I was like, what are you talking about? There is no way the US give away green cards. You know, there is no way. So I was like, that's a scam. Like, I was like ignoring her. And she was like, no, for real, I'm not kidding. Like, I was super skeptic. She was like, no, for real. Like, I have a bunch of friends that they previously, somebody won, like from a family of a friend of a family, whatever. And I was like, there is no way. I'm gonna research. So I started researching, and like, it's a thing, it's free. I just like fill a form that took me probably like 2 minutes to fill. And then hit the enter button.
Awesome.
And then waited like 3 months. And I forgot about it. I totally forgot about it because I thought it was like. Then when I realized it was a thing, then I was like, okay, it's true, but what are the odds? You know. So I kind of like apply and forgot about it. And then my sister was the one that actually reminded me again. She was like, hey, the results are out today. Check and go ahead and check. And then she checked and she was like, yeah, I didn't win. Go ahead and check. And I was like, whatever. And I check, and there's like a letter from the.
That's nice.
From the government, like a letter, but in like in web format. And it's like, you have been selected for the diversity program, cultural.
Wow, very cool.
Yeah, crazy. So, to your question of if I would have come here in a different way. So my sister she didn't win the lottery, but she came here as a student for CFNI.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
And that's another way to kind of like, because
and you went to CFNI too, right?
So I didn't, that's the thing. She came here. She was like, okay, like, I want to leave Venezuela, and I didn't win the lottery. I need to do something else, you know?
Yeah.
So she was thinking about the political asylum or whatever, but that's a little bit of a, it's not the easiest, well, it's kind of easy, but it's probably not the easiest legal process. So I don't remember how or who told her about CFNI, but she was kind of like, okay, yeah, I can go study in the US. That sounds kind of cool. So, and I don't know exactly how that went, but I remember like she reached out and they were like, yeah, we can do it and this and that. So anyways, long story short, she moved to the US and started studying in CFNI here in Dallas before I finished my lottery program process.
Okay.
Because I won a green card. Excuse me, but I still need to go to the embassy.
Sure, and get
an interview and the exams and this and that, you know, and it takes a little bit of a, you know, like probably like a year and a half after you win.
Wow.
So I was kind of like in a, you know, standby kind of thing.
Yeah.
So my sister moved in that mid time, and then when I got all my visa, like everything basically to come here and start living in the US, I was like, where am I going?
Yeah.
Where am I gonna move, you know? My first plan was to go to Cali because I kind of always wanted to, in part also because I just graduated from computer science and Silicon Valley and all that stuff, you know, like all the tech
companies,
world. I was like, oh, I want to live in Cali. I probably can, you know, there's a lot of jobs there. So that was like my first thought, but then I was like, where, you know, how, I don't know, I haven't lived in the US, like where am I gonna move, how, you know, it was like a little bit tough. So I thought, why not moving with my sister for like a month or 2 months, figure something out, and then, you know, and then move to Cali if I want to, like eventually or whatever. So I did that. I moved with my sister and my brother-in-law and my niece, my nephew, I think was not born yet. So I moved with them for like, probably like 2 months, probably like a month, 2 months. And I was working at the time with a family of a friend of mine from Venezuela. Okay. I was doing some IT work. Okay. In his company. It was like an IV company installing lights and stuff like this. Not lights, but like making your house smart kind of thing. Okay. I was working in the web part kind of thing. And I did that probably like a month or 2, and then my sister was the one that told me that in CFNI, in the marketing department, they were looking for a web guy, for like an IT person.
To get hired, like a hired position.
Yeah. And she was like, "What? Like, try to apply." It's like right here. The previous job that I was talking about, I was driving like an hour and a half every day.
Jeez.
Probably like an hour and a half, because it was from Oak Cliff, from CFNI, to North Addison.
Oh, jeez.
And it was always like a peak hour. Yeah. Like in the afternoon and in the
like
morning.
Traffic. Oh my God.
No, it was like, and I remember like back when I came here, I never used to use the tollway. Never. I was like, never used to use the tollway. So I was probably like extra 20 minutes or whatever. So anyways, it was like so long of a drive. In the CFNI, I was like, oh, okay, if I move here, I can live here. I can, you know, it was like so much easier, everything. Yeah. So I was like, sure, why not? So I applied. The only problem with CFNI, not a problem, but it's that I believe at that time, I think so, I'm not quite sure, but I think they hire people that study there only. I think so. I'm not quite sure. Or I'm not quite sure. But anyway, so I think that was kind of like maybe they won't hire me because I didn't actually study here. Yeah. but I did the interview and everything went like super nice, and I started working there. I started working there in the marketing department, but I was in the web part of it, web design, maintaining the systems and all this, because that's basically what I study. But I had a desire for making videos, you know, like still had that desire and always wanted to. And in the marketing department, I started kind of like helping the guys, you know, like kind of like with the cameras and like, hey guys, like the tripod, you know, like the lights and whatever. And I started doing more and more and more. And then I asked my boss at the time if they needed any kind of extra help, and I don't have like much work to do, like send me to, you know, like projects and stuff like this. So there I started like basically learning a little bit more actually about content creation.
That's
basically.
So cool.
Yeah. And then after that, I at that moment I was doing also weddings, and I was doing like small projects in CFNI about video, about content creation. And at that point, I started skydiving, kind of like at the same time, and then I started doing all these things that I was doing in CFNI and weddings and all this, but in skydiving, and that's basically how.
So how did you get? Did you like sort of just like Google like skydiving near me and like get in contact with a company that? Did you have to do a certain amount of jumps before you were able to like record? Like how did that all happen?
Yeah. So. Yeah, that's a good question, because I was like, okay, I want to skydive. How do I do?
Yeah,
you know,
how do you
where?
do it? Yeah.
You know, what do I do? So I remember I was following a few Venezuelan guys that they were like well-known skydivers in Venezuela, and I was following them for a long time. And I knew that one was living in Houston and working in a really well-known drop zone. That's how we call where we go to jump. It's called Space in Houston. That's where you guys went, but the one in Houston. So it's kind of like a franchise. So anyways, I text him and I was like, hey man, I'm from Venezuela. You don't know me. I follow you. I kind of want to start skydiving. What do you recommend? What should I do? Where should I go? And he told me, man, go to this one. Like hands down, these are one of the most professional people in the US. You know, and not just as a place to go and have fun, but they're a school, which not every drop zones are, you know, so like there is a bunch of places where you can go and jump out of planes,
but they won't like teach you.
They don't teach, and there is a lot of places that they cannot teach, but it's kind of like we have some people that know and they teach and they're good, but they're not as cool, you know. So in Spaceland, that's kind of like their main thing, or kind of, you know, they're like we're school, and that's kind of like the main thing that they do. So anyways, it was like a really good place to go, and I trust him, so that's basically where I went.
And you were like, hey, I want to learn, and then they hired you, or like how did that happen?
Okay, so the learning part, the first thing I wanted to do is to get my license. I want my license. I want to jump by myself. So for Spaceland, they have like there is an organization that is called the USPA. It's the United States Parachute Association, and they have all the rules in the US about skydiving. Like how many jumps do you need to get the license, and this and that. On top of that, Spaceland, the drop zone where I go, they have some extra rules just because they're like extra safe or whatever. So they ask you to do 2 tandem jumps before you even start doing the training program to be a skydiver.
So you have to jump twice with another person strapped to you.
Yes, which for some people is kind of like, what?
Why?
I just wanna jump by myself, you know, kind of thing. But I kind of get it. Back in the day, that wasn't a thing, I think, anywhere. It was like, you want to learn? Okay, put this on. Let's go, you know, kind of thing. So I kind of get it. Like some people, it makes sense to experience free fall and the canopy part and all that first, in a very safe control environment, and then decide, have like a better decision of not only a better decision, but also when you do your first solo jump, at least I've
done it before.
You went through that, and and nothing happened. So I did my 2 tandems in Spaceland, and right away I started doing my solo.
Oh wow!
Yeah, you need to do 25 jumps, 25 solo skydive to get the license.
Okay.
When I mean solo, I mean you don't have somebody
on your back,
basically, but you have an instructor. On the first 3 jumps, the instructor is always holding you, like always.
Okay.
So it's not in your back. It's not on your back, and you're jumping solo, meaning that you have your own parachute, but you have an instructor holding you the whole time.
Okay.
So it's kind of like the first jump is not necessarily super unsafe because of that, because they're holding you the whole time. I guess the most scary part.
Are they instructing you in the sky? Like, can you hear them, or is it too loud to hear them?
So for the very first jump, for every jump, you have to kind of like complete a task.
Okay.
And that way you pass to the next level. If you don't do any of these tasks, you fail and you have to repeat the same jump. So it's not like you jump 25 times and that's it, and you have the license. You have to go through like a test or whatever.
Yes.
The very first one, the only thing you have to do properly is to have a good body position in a way that you're arching, meaning that you're pushing your hips, like your hips are the lowest point in your body. Because if you're not in that body position, if you're kind of like the arch, like the opposite basically, then the wind is gonna try to flip you over.
Oh wow.
And then you can be like completely out of control.
Gotcha.
And you don't want to deploy your parachute when you're spinning, because then it's gonna have like the lines, it's gonna be a mess. Yeah. So that's one of the most important things you have to do in the very first jump. You have to show that you have a good body position.
Yeah.
That's why we recommend to go to iFly first, because if in iFly, even if you,
the indoor one?
The indoor skydiving, yeah. Even if you don't do it right the first time in iFly, at least you can do it multiple times and learn without having to worry about like jumping out of a plane and having a parachute and all this crazy stuff. So it's always a good idea to go to an indoor skydiving place first, get decent at being stable in the wind, being stable, and then go and take your skydiving license basically. So you have to demonstrate that you can fly in the very first jump. You can fly stable. You have to be aware of your altitude, because it's not super common, but it's common for people to get kind of like freak out on the first jump, and they're kind of like gone. they're not quite there, so they're like this, just following, and it's like, man,
and you say zone out.
You should be paying attention to your altimeter, So that's why also the instructor is there the whole time. Okay. Because if for some reason this person is not there, we have to open the thing for them. Okay. Yeah. What I was going with this. The things that you have to do in the first jump.
Did they have a videographer on staff there, or did you sort of like create the position of like, I'm skydiving and now I'm going to incorporate all of my video into it?
Say that again?
Did they have a videographer on staff at iFly Dallas before you came? Like, was that a position that you were training to do?
iFly or Spaceland?
I mean, Spaceland.
Spaceland. Yeah. Well, so this is the thing. In every drop zone, they have the staff, right? And the staff are the people that teach somebody that wants to learn how to skydive. They're the people that jump as a tandem with other people, and they're the videographers, the packers, and so on. Okay. And they usually do multiple things. So they kind of like rotate. Got it. And the videographers, they usually teach also, and they usually do tandems as well. And they kind of like, one day they're doing one thing, another day they're doing like a different thing. So yes, they have a position for like the video guys. But when I started making videos, I didn't actually work as a videographer for tandem jumps.
Okay.
I kind of started working on, because there is these two different things in skydiving. There is like the sport, which is like a whole thing that nobody knows about, and there is the fun, thrilling, going with your friends for the first time and jump kind of thing, you know. But the sport, we have camps, we have events, we have competitions, we have World Cups and all this. So you can either be a videographer for the people that goes for the first time and jump with friends and birthday parties and all this, or you can be the videographer for the World Cups, for the teams, for the.
So one's like in-house and one's like sort of.
You can also be both, you know.
Yeah.
Or you can start here and then be kind of like, okay, now I want to film more teams instead of filming like first timers kind of thing, you know. So you can kind of like build your way up to wherever you want to be, you know. Like some people are really good. There is like a lot of really good skydivers in each particular thing. Like really good. So I decided to go more towards making videos, but not videos for the first timers kind of thing, but making videos for people that already know how to skydive, you know. Like to make pretty videos of different disciplines in the sky, because we have like different stuff, you know. We have flying upside down, like head first, it's like a thing, and flying right side up, you know, like being kind of like standing, it's like a whole different thing,
and that's really hard, right?
Wow. You have no idea.
It's really
it's
crazy
super
hard.
Complicated. You have no idea. It's funny because did you fly in iFly?
David did. David flew out at Skyland, Dallas.
And he jumped also.
He jumped.
But did he go also to the indoor tunnel? Okay. You guys.
No, he said he got motion sick in the air and everything. Like he was just like I got like
in the sky.
Yeah, in the sky.
Yeah.
So yeah, he didn't. He probably should have done an indoor one first to kind of feel how it might feel.
That's common. That's a common thing, and I think it's for the most part it's on the canopy part when you're on the parachute, because sometimes they drive or they move the parachute a little bit too aggressive or like too many turns and you get kind of like dizzy. I got a little bit of that on my first jump ever, and to be honest, my very first one I wasn't super pumped about it. I was kind of like, okay, that was cool, but I think I had a bar way too, you know, my expectation.
I understand.
I was waiting so long to skydive, and I was like, wow, that's so cool. It looks like, and I think because of that, maybe, I don't know, my very first jump was kind of like, okay, it was cool, but it wasn't like amazing, you know?
Where did that like initial love of skydiving come from? Like usually I feel like skydiving and heights is like a huge common fear for people. Skydiving, heights, everything. So like what was the initial thing when you were a kid where you're like, I want to do that?
I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know where.
Or did you first see it? Was it like on TV or like?
Maybe, I don't know. I can remember like the very first time I'd ever thought about like, oh, I want to do skydiving. I can't remember when was the very first time. But I do remember, of course, like videos being like an influence on that. So probably on movies, and when it started getting more popular on YouTube, you know, like YouTube videos, people like jumping out of planes and all this stuff, I think it kind of like built up. I do have like a very old memory, which it's kind of like one of those memories is they're kind of like foggy because they're so old that it's kind of. But I remember watching like a military show in Venezuela like a long time ago. I don't know how to call this, where the horses used to like where they run the places were. So there was like a military show and a bunch of military guys with the parachutes and all this. And I remember thinking that like, oh my god, that looks so cool. Like I kind of wanna do that. And I think it's kind of like a, if you think about it, it's kind of like a kid desire of flying kind of thing, because like every kid kind of like dreams about it. It's like, you know, like even on the bed or like anywhere, every kid thinks, oh, like, oh, if I could fly. So I guess it comes from that and a combination of like actually seeing people doing it and being like, wow, that looks cool. I wanna do that, you know. Were
you ever interested in like the Air Force or anything?
Yes.
You were?
Which is also kind of like interesting because I think it's, I don't know. I was very interested in kind of like joining the Air Force basically in Venezuela, but Venezuela has been like a whole mess, the whole political situation since even since when I thought it for the first time, when I was like a very small kid. I remember I was like, oh, that I could do that. I could be like in there for some reason, I don't know why. I kind of like
that's so interesting.
Yeah, that caught my attention too.
I always find it so interesting when people like know from when they're very little what they want to do when they grow up, because that's not been my experience. I think I always wanted to do one thing and then it sort of morphed into another thing and it kind of just worked out. But David's like always wanted to be a videographer, like since he was a kid. And I'm like, I don't know, it's so cool that you're like living out your dreams now that you had when you were a child, pretty much. Most people are scared of heights, so you're not scared of like something that most people are. Like most people get nervous like thinking about even jumping out of planes. So what are you scared of? What's your fear?
Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm scared of heights. I don't think so. But I do have a bunch of friends, skydiver friends, that they're terrified of heights.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, what? Like, what are you doing with your life, bro? Like, what's happening?
That's so crazy.
Yeah, there is a few that they're like you can see they're not lying. They're kind of like, oh my god, this is scary.
And they choose to do it.
They choose to do it anyways, which I think that's even more impressive than like just me being like, yeah, it seems like, oh, like it is scary, but it's not like whoa, like terrifying. Like I can do it, you know. But somebody that is kind of like terrified of that and still does it, I'm like, wow, man, that's
what are you scared of?
So within skydiving or
just in general, like most people are scared of heights. I feel like public speaking, heights, and like death are like the top three things that humans are afraid of. So like you're not afraid of, I mean, you're not afraid of a lot of that. So what are you afraid of?
I would say maybe public speaking. I think I'm not good at that, and I think I could be afraid of that. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Public speaking.
I think so.
So you travel around a lot. I know that like even working with you, you're like, I'm gonna be here, I'm gonna be here, I'm gonna be here. Yeah. What are you doing at those locations? And like, do you have like a private business where you're like filming people jump out of planes at various different states? Like, what are you doing when you go away on those trips?
So within skydiving, the sport itself, we have camps. That's they're pretty common, and basically we train in those camps. And people from all over the world, they join those camps to basically learn new stuff. And it's kind of like a thing, having a video of the whole event, kind of like a highlight video of the best jumps of the videos and stuff like this. So I basically started doing that probably like 2-3 years ago. Yeah, probably like 2-3 years ago. And because of these events, you have to pay like a inscription or whatever to go there and all this. Then you get to, whoever is putting the event together, they can hire a videographer to make a video and all that. So that's basically what I do. I go to these events, I make a video of the event basically, and I charge them my day rate basically. And,
so how did they discover you? Like, how do you do marketing?
That's a good question. So that's a good question. I think it's kind of like one of those things where it's such a, what's a good word for this? It's niche. I think that's a word.
Oh, like a small community.
It's such a small community. Yeah. So like, I think it's such a small community that if you do like a decent work, like a decent job, and you put it out there, like somebody's gonna be like, hey, look, kind of like look at this. And so that's kind of basically what I was doing. I was like making videos first. That was kind of like my goal, but I was making video first with like filming my friends, like this weekend at the drop zone right here in Dallas. I was making videos of the weekend, like not like any particular event, and like good music and trying to make it kind of like cinematic looking. And to be honest, in the skydiving, in the community itself, it's not like it's super small because we have like a decent amount of people. But it's still small relative to like other communities, right? Gotcha. But within skydiving, there is not too many videographers that actually do videography. Does that make sense? So there is a lot of people that they film. Yes. They have a camera and they film videos, and there's nothing wrong with it. But there is not many people that they think about like the shots and having like a storytelling, and like a little bit of like.
That's what I noticed about your work. When I first saw your work, I was like, holy crap, this is so cool. But it's also so cinematic, and then also it tells that story. And I felt like when I was looking up, David and I had wanted to go skydiving. When I was looking up skydiving places, I saw some of the videos. I'm like, it's just sort of like somebody holding a camera, and you know what I mean? Like, it's not like cinematic and storytelling. So where did that come from? Where you're like, I'm going to go a step further. I'm not going to just record it. I'm going to record it well, and then also have a very cinematic, thing to it.
Yeah. So it's all kind of like a story in a way, in the sense that when I started skydiving for fun, because I always kind of wanted to, after I don't know, like 10, 20 jumps, I started like thinking, like, wow, this is super cool.
Yeah.
If people get paid to do this, I mean, like, I kind of want to do this, like I was enjoying it a lot, and I was kind of like, I was starting to see kind of like how people make a living in the skydiving. And video was one of the things for sure, And then I was like, okay, I have a background in making videos, like I can do that. I can make videos. I just needed to learn how to be able to fly my body in a way that I can be in the jumps that look kind of like cool, if that makes sense,
For sure.
Because like that's being able to jump out of a plane is one thing, and then being able to join like high level jumps is another thing, and it's actually it's not easy to get there. I kind of took like a shortcut because I work in the tunnel in iFly, in the indoor skydiving tunnel, and there you learn super fast. I feel like I went off your question.
No, you can keep going. I was enjoying hearing.
Yeah, no.
So like, how do you make a living skydiving? Like,
oh yeah. So I remember. So yeah, because of. So yeah, I kind of like start, and I was okay. Maybe I can start making cool videos in skydiving, and maybe that takes me somewhere, kind of thing, So that's basically what I started doing, and I started posting them, and I started also reaching out to people when I start making. After I feel like confident enough to and safe, because that's also super important. To be able to go in groups and make like good content and all this. I start reaching out and was like, hey man, if you need a videographer, I can do it for close to none, like almost free basically. And I remember just the fact that when I started making videos in skydiving, just the fact that I was jumping for free, because I used to look at it that way. Does that make sense? Because you need to pay every time you jump out of the plane, and it's expensive, you know. And when I was doing videos, the very first time I wasn't getting paid, but they were paying for my jump in the plane.
Yes.
So I wasn't getting paid, but I was skydiving.
Yes, yeah.
And I was making videos of skydiving, you know?
Yeah.
And I wasn't putting anything of my money, you know?
Yeah.
That's how I used to see it back then, when I had like another job, but I was still kind of like doing that on the side kind of thing. So that evolved into making better videos and reaching out to other people that they were like kind of like, yeah, man, we'll pay your whatever you charging on your.
Do you feel like social media was a big factor in like when you I mean, you have really cool videos on social media, like just color graded well and like filmed so well. Like, you think that was a huge factor in like finding clients?
I think that was in skydiving. I think that was the main factor, not the main, but one of the main factors for sure. But I'm sorry, also because of skydiving being so small, that is yes for sure social media, but it's so easy to get exposure in social media and skydiving. You know, it's like there is not that many
people do it.
There is not that much content. So when you see something cool, it gets spread out super easily, and then you're kind of like, oh my god, like I like this video because there is not that many there, you know, like most videos, they used to be GoPros 1, 2, 3, super shaky. Some people jump kind of like the handycams, you know, like the video cameras. They look better than a GoPro in my opinion, but then the editing part is also important, you know, the music, the color grading. I mean, it's important in a way. There is a bunch of people in skydiving that they make videos and they don't care much about that, like the color grading, and that's fair. And there is a bunch of videos of that I really like, but I think you can definitely stand out if you do that extra thing, you know. But also you have to like it, because if not, it doesn't, you know, you won't get anywhere, in my opinion.
Do you use specific like equipment filming in the sky? Like, are you just going up there with your Sony? Like, how's that work? Is it attached to your helmet? Like, how is there specific equipment that you have to use?
So I start jumping kind of like professionally or whatever with my Panasonic GH5.
Okay.
Now I jump with the Panasonic GH6. I have a helmet, and the camera is basically attached to the helmet, to the top of the helmet, and I have a sight, kind of like a ring sight. It's almost like a scope, kind of like from like a rifle or whatever. It's kind of like a scope that and it has a center. And you align that center of the sight to the center of the camera, because you can move this, right?
Wow.
So you kind of like move it, you unscrew it, you adjust that. A friend is gonna tell you like, hey man, in the center of your camera, there is that person over there. And you move these, so this is also that person in the center. And then you just tie it, you know.
That's so crazy.
Everywhere where you look, that center is gonna be the same center of the camera.
That's so crazy. How do you? Is there like a clicker if you wanted to take a picture?
So for videos, that's all you have to do, right? For stills, I actually jump my Sony A7 IV. Because the Panasonic sucks for stills. Yeah, super bad. So I jumped the Sony for stills, and you need how can you call that? Like a switch, like a trigger kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know, they sell that little thing, like if you want to do like a time lapse and you don't want to like move the camera because of the trigger. There are multiple ways of doing that. They can sell one like a remote one that is wireless kind of thing. So there is multiple ways to make like a trigger. In skydiving, they came with like a very smart solution of doing it by
a mouthpiece.
Yeah, kind of like biting. Like how do you say?
That's so cool.
Yeah, they call it bite switch. So you just like bite, and there is another one, or they call it tongue switch, because you can press with the tongue and the top of your mouth, and it's like a bottom, you know, so you can feel it, and you're taking pictures.
Which one do you use?
So I use one that is slightly different. It's called a blow switch. And imagine that it's kind of like a how do you call it? Like to drink water, like a straw.
Yeah.
It's like a straw, but the material is more, you know, like you can bend it. You know, it's like a little bit stronger and flexible. So it's like a straw that you can blow, and that goes to like a small box and inside the box, I believe, I'm not sure, inside the box there is like a small pump or something that is moving something else that is making the switch.
Gotcha.
The trigger, and that goes to a cable, and then it goes to the camera. So I
insane.
I literally blow. I just go, and then.
That's nuts, dude! Shout out to the innovators that create this stuff. That's insane.
That's crazy.
Yeah, dude, that's nuts.
That is crazy.
Dude, I've been working with you. Probably been working together for like almost 2 years, maybe 2 years exactly.
Yeah, 2 years.
I don't think I've ever caught you in a bad mood. Okay, you're like literally one of the most positive energy, like smiley people I've ever met. Do you have like what do you do? What's your routine? Like, do you meditate? Like, what? How do you have such like positive like energy all the time?
Thank you. I don't know. I think it's my personality, maybe.
Okay.
So
like,
I don't think I don't feel like do anything special kind of thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's like my mindset. I'm just grateful,
Yeah.
Like, so I don't have much to complain about. Maybe I'm also pretty lucky too,
Yeah.
Because I could be in a way worse situation and then not being like this all the time. So. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's a lot of the way I am. I feel like I have always been a positive person for some reason.
That's great.
Yeah.
How do you make a living skydiving? So like are you an independent contractor, or are you employed by Skyline Dallas, or like how does this all work? How do you make a living?
So you can do both, basically. You can be freelance, or you can work for the skydiving company, like the drop zone, basically. I'm a freelance in skydiving.
Okay.
So I don't do just videos, but I do a lot of coaching as well.
Okay.
So like basically teaching. I don't only teach people that they haven't ever jumped how to be a skydiver.
Sure.
What I do for the most part is I teach people that they already know how to skydive. I teach them how to do some things better or some new things in a way, kind of. So I do that's like the main thing I do. On the weekends is usually where I get the most busy, and I'm just teaching, I'm just coaching, I'm just jumping out of a plane.
So that's your main source of like income, is those teaching?
Skydiving coaching. Then when I'm not coaching, I'm doing video. And if I'm not doing video, I could be instructing. And instructing is teaching the person that have never jumped out of a plane. That's a little bit different than coaching. That's like more like, hey, like this guy, they have no idea. So you have to be kind of like, okay, I'm gonna explain this to you as if you were 3 years old.
Sure.
Because it's important.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit different than coaching, but if I'm not doing coaching, sometimes I do that as well. If not, I'm doing video. And if not, I'm doing events, which is pretty common. It's almost like if I was kind of like a wedding videographer that they make money by going to events, weddings, kind of like they book, who knows, 5 weddings, every weekend. Like, anyways, so I go to events. I'm going to like one in Chicago in 3 weeks.
Nice.
And it's a 3-day event. And in that event, it depends. So for that event, for that particular one, I'm gonna be coaching. So I'm gonna be teaching.
Okay.
So I'm take a group of people, a group of skydivers, and I teach them how to do some things.
And this is
in a way.
This is at a place like Skyline Dallas, but it's in Chicago.
Yes. Yes.
And is it usually for like people like, oh, I'm having a birthday party, I want all of us to go skydiving, or like how does that work? Do you just come in as an instructor during a normal like work week? Like,
yeah, it depends on the place that you're going to, but most skydiving drop zones, they're kind of like the same.
Okay.
If you have zero experience in skydiving, if you don't know anything about the sport, you can just probably call and then book your tandem jump and then go jump.
Okay.
But there is also the sport part of skydiving. There is also probably like a group of guys that they go every weekend there to train, to do, like we do any kind of stuff in the sky that we practice, kind of like formations in the sky, that we practice on the ground first, and then we do it in the sky. So you have like these two different things, you know, where people go and they can jump, do a tandem with an instructor, and then you have the skydivers that do it for like a hobby or like a sport, that go every weekend and then just jump with friends and stuff.
Gotcha.
So basically anybody can put together like a camp. It's basically an event, and they call whoever they think they're good coaches, and they're like, hey, I'm putting together an event in this place, and I'm gonna need you guys for these dates. Let me know if you're available, because I have a lot of people that are looking forward to it.
Gotcha.
So that's basically what I'm doing in Chicago this time.
Wow.
They're putting together an event, and then skydivers with experience, they're joining in the event to do what we do, which is basically teaching.
Yeah, very cool. So which do you like enjoy most? Do you enjoy like the teaching aspect of it, or do you enjoy more of the videography aspect? Because you said you do a couple different things. So which one do you enjoy most?
I always go back and forward, to be honest, because I don't enjoy doing neither. If I'm doing just that.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, you have to
I
be
do
doing
enjoy it, but it gets kind of like, I need a break of this kind of thing, you know?
Yes.
So I'm super glad and grateful that I'm able to do both, because not most people, but a lot of people that work in the sport, in skydiving, they're a coach.
Stuck in one thing.
They're kind of like, they're a coach, that's it. And they're coaching the whole time. Nothing wrong with it, you know? Like, if you love it, that's amazing, you know? But I like the balance of being able to do both. And I would say, to be honest, I think I lean a little bit more towards teaching than to creating content. But it also depends, because sometimes I get a little bit tired
of it.
Of kind of like, because you have to like, I think it requires a lot of, it takes a lot of your energy in a way, not in a bad way, but in a way that you are basically trying to give your best to this person, to you know,
it's their first experience.
Teach. Basically. So when making videos, you don't have to deal with anybody. You're basically, hello guys. You know, kind of like if you're doing if you're making a wedding video kind of thing, you know, you don't have to deal much with people unless just in some parts, you know.
Sure.
But let's say on the party part, you're just making videos, you know. You're not like talking to everybody. When you're teaching, you have to, you know, like talk, explain, brief, debrief. So I really like both. But I like the most being able to balance them out.
I can imagine that would be hard with somebody's first time, you know, and always being the person that's like, okay, I'm teaching somebody for the first time they've ever done this before, because you have to make it like teachable and a special experience. Whenever I worked at, I used to work at a camp, and we would do it for like 8 weeks, and every week we would go, okay, it's week one, day one, because these kids are coming in and it's their first week at camp. Even though we're 8 weeks in and we're tired, we have to still keep it up like we are like, okay, this is our first week, and coming in with that same energy, and it can be exhausting. So I totally feel you. Thank you so much for doing this.
Of course.
This is super exciting, and I knew that you were like a skydiver and everything, but I didn't really know exactly what all went into it and how you got there. I think it's so interesting hearing how you got started. So
thank you.
I'd love to have you back, and we could talk more. I have so many more questions that I can think of, but we'll wrap it up now. But thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Sweet.
It was fun.